What does the name Pritzker mean to me? It means success, values, honesty, and a humbleness.
It means civic-minded, bringing beauty and art and joy, but also service and understanding that sometimes with great wealth comes great responsibility to help others.
To be creative and courageous. For them, I think that was synonymous.
They accomplished things, they collected things, not because they needed to, but because they wanted to. Ultimately, they wanted to make the world, their city, and their home a more beautiful and better place. This November, Sotheby's is presenting the collection of Cindy and Jay Pritzker. The collection comprises masterpieces from across the late 19th and 20th century, from Camille Pissarro's beautiful composition of Pontoise, all the way to Juan Miro's sculpture of Mère Ubu from 1977. Cindy and Jay Pritzker are some of the most important philanthropists from Chicago. It's hard to walk around the city of Chicago without seeing the name Pritzker, and for good reason. They're ingrained in every aspect of the city's cultural fabric.
I grew up in Chicago, born in Chicago, raised in Chicago. My family's been actively involved in the city. Father was mayor, and a brother was mayor. If it wasn't for Cindy and Jay's engagement, the city probably would not be what it is.
We would not have the Harold Washington Library Center without Cindy Pritzker's drive, vision, and philanthropy, frankly.
There's also the Pritzker School of Medicine at the University of Chicago, the Pritzker Family Zoo at the Lincoln Park Zoos, many, many bequests to the Art Institute of Chicago and their garden there, as well as the Jay Pritzker Pavilion in Millennium Park, designed by Frank Gehry.
It's not just the name of a building, not just financial support. And that's what I think differentiates them from lots of other people who support organizations. Their engagement. If you take Millennium Park as an example, that fundamentally changed Chicago. Cindy took a personal interest in how that pavilion was built and what it looked like and what it conveyed.
It was very apparent that in her own forceful but gentle way, Cindy pushed Frank Gehry to be bold, to try harder, to do it differently. I remember him saying, I had never designed a bridge before. And Cindy and Mayor Daley said, well, you're going to design one now because we need a bridge. She walked the walk and talked the talk. She was there. Chicago is a city worth fighting for. It's a great city. And I think that's what the Pritzkers did. They believed passionately in their hometown.
In addition to their devotion to Chicago, their visionary understanding of their support of architecture led to the creation of the Pritzker Prize in 1979.
I think this was a sea change. This was a complete revolution in the art world period. They gave architecture a mode of recognition that was simply not available before then.
The Pritzker collection is filled with works by artists who are often well known, but the works are not obvious. This is not a checklist collection. They were acquiring works that provide the deeper insight into the artist, the kind of work that when you live with it, you continue to learn from for days, weeks, months, years. There are incredible works of art on an individual basis. Starting with Vincent van Gogh's roman parisien Les Livres jaunes, which depicts piles of novels spilling across a table in his and his brother's apartment in Montmartre in Paris.
You could say that the Pritzker collection escapes all stereotypes. That painting gives you a vision of Van Gogh that totally counters many of the stereotypes that have sort of stuck on poor Van Gogh. Van Gogh is someone who's often described as someone who paints with his guts, paints with his instinct, doesn't have much intellect, doesn't have much rationality. Well, that is utterly, utterly untrue.
The yellow covers signifying publication by Charpentier of authors like Émile Zola and the de Goncourt brothers. Van Gogh read and wrote and spoke in 4 languages, and these are all books that he personally responded to. In his depiction here, he's creating his own self-portrait. Everything about the way this work is painted, the color, the brush strokes, the setting, the tight cropping, is quintessentially Van Gogh. The book open in the center of the table invites the viewer in. Is the viewer the reader? Is the artist the reader? Presumably both.
Van Gogh, through this particular painting, which is so beautiful to look at, but so beautiful to think at as well, Van Gogh gives you here a sort of testimony. He's not doing it for that particular purpose, but that's what this says, that I'm a great reader.
When Monet writes, he complains about the weather. When Van Gogh writes, he talks about philosophy.
How many paintings have you seen, how many still lifes have you seen that are about books? There are only 9 paintings, I think, in his entire corpus, which focus on books. It's extremely rare.
There are so many amazing works in this collection, from Bauhaus Kandinsky work on paper to lyrical Calder gouaches.
Not every painting by Kirchner, not every watercolor by Kandinsky, not every painting by Léger speaks the language of architecture. And they managed to find over and over works that deeply resonated with the principal tenets of architecture.
One of the most fascinating works is the Henri Matisse triptych of Leda and the Swan. This was a work that was a commissioned piece, a commissioned architectural piece. When you look at this work, the first thing you see is the form of a female and a bird coming down from the top. The swan, of course, is Zeus. So here Matisse is grappling with mythological subjects. This is confined to the central panel, and on each side, when you open the doors, which are painted on the back in gold leaf, you see a bright vermilion and the incising of beautiful leaves whose form would again be echoed in the stained glass windows in Vence. His architectural installations were objects and works of art that took him years to develop often. And this work was no different. He spent 3 years thinking about sketching, painting, scraping back, removing images and compositions to then go back to this again.
It invites you also to gesticulate, to walk around, to circulate around it. And that's what happens in an architectural space. Picasso and Matisse, you could say that they were frenemies in a way. In 1928 to 29, Picasso is at the top of his career, and he sees a few works by Matisse, and he has this terrible kind of a quib about his old friend, and he says, when you look at Matisse, you fall asleep in a chair. And in fact, Matisse proved Picasso wrong numerous times, and this is one example here. This painting doesn't allow you to fall asleep. It has you use your energy, use your inner forces, use your imagination, and play with it.
One particularly interesting aspect of the Max Beckmann piece in their collection is its scale. It's nearly 50 inches square. There's heavy symbolism and allegory, which is what you see in the best of Beckmann's works. There are perhaps echoes of Renaissance allegorical paintings and of cathedral stained glass windows. No one but Beckmann painted this way. It's instantly recognizable in the outline of the figures, in the formation on the canvas, in the way the paint is handled. No one can create something with so much theatricality, it's almost like a stage set, than Beckmann can. And he does this throughout his career. The quality of the Pritzker collection is also clearly visible in their work by Paul Gauguin. Dating to 1889, when he had returned to Brittany, to the town of La Poule-d'Eu, it takes as its base a vista of the ocean. Out on a rocky promontory, there is an abandoned home, and in the foreground, a cow and a cowherd.
Paradoxically, they chose works that would transcend the general received ideas about each particular artist. When you see this painting, you immediately recognize Gauguin, there's no question. And what is Gauguin known for is for his two Tahiti journeys. Yet clearly, just by the way the lady to the right is dressed, you know that you're not in Tahiti. This was way before he even thought about Tahiti, but he already was driven by this, what you could call an anti-civilization instinct.
The perspective is skewed here. This isn't a traditional vanishing point. Colors and planes are flattened. What he's trying to achieve here, which is heavily influenced by Japanese prints among other sources, is a new way of looking and interacting with the painted picture plane.
You are seeing someone who is very confident that he is articulating a new mode of painting, that he's creating a new language, that other people around him come and worship.
One of the most interesting works in this collection, and something that you really rarely find in American collections, is the work by Felix Vallotton of his wife, Gabrielle, sleeping on top of a bed. She's placed against the wallpaper in the background. And perhaps most surprising, on the underside of the comforter at the upper left and lower right, these hints of bright pink. He had just married Gabrielle. This was a new marriage. They had both been with partners before, and this was a time of extreme contentment and happiness for Vallotton, which is so beautifully displayed in this work of art. She's asleep, so of course it's dreamy, but it really is dreamy to look at it. There's nothing out of place in this painting. Everything feels perfect, even though so much of it is about imperfection. Among the paintings and drawings in the Pritzker collection, there were also beautiful examples of sculpture, and this is from both the European canon and further afield. There's a wonderful Tang dynasty horse from the early 8th century, for example, alongside a large-scale Miro bronze that was in their California residence, as well as an arp, which is much more geometric than many of Arp's works were at this time. As you would imagine, for collectors who were so deeply entrenched in the world of architecture, they thought about how the works of art impacted the space around them. It's easy to collect things so other people will be impressed. It's harder to collect things because they're what you really love and are passionate about, what you want to live with, just for yourself.
I do believe the Pritzkers were intimately in conversation with all of these artists, long dead artists. One can be almost certain they were intimately fond of, they really had a sort of personal intimacy, personal friendship with those people.
When I think of the Pritzker collection, the first word that comes to mind is visionary, because each of the works in its own right holds that quality. But when I think about it further, the word is personal.
Jay and Cindy Pritzker were a new generation of impactful, serious, incredibly successful Chicagoans. That sort of sense of giving back has remained in the family of Jay and Cindy and in the broader Pritzker family.